How's it going, everybody? It's been a long time. I'm trying to get back into this. I'm just jumping into making another video because it's been like over a year. Having a kid and working full time doesn't leave a lot of time for fun D&D stuff, but I'm trying to get back into it. So I'm back this time with more bandana to prevent head glare. So adjust that a little bit. So the video I want to make today, some little DM fun stuff, is about stealing stuff from video games, which I'm going to make a little series on because there's so much stuff that can be stolen from video games, and a lot of people make videos. Kind of mentions how good of a medium Dungeons and Dragons and role-playing games are as far as incorporating stolen elements, right? Pilfering elements. So this time I was going to make a quick list on some elements that you could steal from a very popular game, Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, right? For those of you who play this game, it's a fun game. It's got a lot of fun mechanics, but there's a couple things you can steal from it. Actually, there's a lot of things you can steal from it. So let's jump into this list. The first thing that I was going to list was the Lionels, right? These are these kind of goofy monsters. That's sort of a centaur, lion-headed, horned fighter thing, right? It's a clever little monster, but it's something that unless you played Breath of the Wild, right, you're probably not going to be familiar with it, right? And you can kind of see the Lionel. There's a lot of artwork you can use for it, right? One of the fun things about it is it's one of those monsters, if they encounter it in a field or something, and you kind of describe this and they're like, what the hell is that, right? And it's got a sword and a shield and a big bow, and so if they fight it and then it suddenly it breathes fire at them, right? It's got a plethora of abilities of charge attacks. It's a very strong monster in the Breath of the Wild universe, but it's something that most players, it's going to catch them by surprise, right? And they're really not going to know what to do with it, right? Which makes it a fun addition, right? So very simple things, steal monsters from video games. And I'll eventually talk about some other monsters you can steal and sort of different features of video games that you can steal. But the Lionel is an easy, good one because there's a lot of artwork for it, and you can draft it up real quick, right? And add some of the abilities, and this should surprise the crap out of the players, right? So that's number one. Number two, a feature from Breath of the Wild would be the sort of alchemy cooking feature that the game has, right? Of sort of collecting mushrooms and meat off, and I mean, you can collect everything off of everything, right? And use it for something. Well, this is a easy, fun feature that you can add, right? By having, like one of the things you can do is collect monster parts. It's usually like guts and hooves and claws and stuff like that, and you mix that with some herbs and you get a tonic or a tincture, potion, an essence of whatever, right? And so you can have the players, you can use this feature to have them, if they fight a chimera, well, they save the chimera's liver so that they can make a potion of bull strength later, right, out of monster parts, right? And so it gets them, it sort of increases, or rather makes it simpler to give treasure, right? Because now the actual carcass of one of your monsters is the treasure, right? There's a certain, and you can have them use, whatever knowledge arcana to know that, the brain stem of a gorgon is a valuable component, right? And this way they can sort of Frankenstein their own potions, and you can maybe add some random features to what happens when they put these things together. Maybe it gives them like a +2 to strength and a +2 to con, right? Just kind of different little potions, and that's a very easy mechanic. Well, it's maybe a little time-consuming mechanic, but it's not hard to put together, right? A lot of people have already kind of done some of the footwork on those things. But it's an easy, saving mushrooms to make potions, different kinds of mushrooms. Like, there's things in Breath of the Wild, kind of like a frost shroom and a sun shroom that will respectively give you protection from cold and heat. Things like that are really easy to work in. I've actually got a guide on herbs from Pazuzu Press at our drivethrurpg store, which I will link in the video if you want to donate and buy one. But that's another easy feature to work in that makes things a little more colorful, a little more fun, right? And again, you don't have to reinvent the wheel from scratch. People have already kind of done this for you. You could just kind of adapt it however you want. So that's another good feature from Breath of the Wild that you can work into your game. A third feature would be the Sheikah Slate. Breath of the Wild is based around this little Sheikah Slate that you get, right, at the very beginning of the game, and it's basically like a little iPad, right? But from some lost civilization. This is a great plot device to give players, because it's sort of like you can use it for anything, right? It sort of gets the game started. Like, you find this little Sheikah Slate in this little tomb, and it reveals an image, and that sets your party in motion. You can feed things via the DM through this little device, the Sheikah Slate, right? They can see an image. In the game, the Sheikah Slate can take photographs. It comes with photographs built in that you have to go find, like, where's that picture taken, right? Which is kind of the fun of exploring Breath of the Wild. But you could work that very much into a D&D campaign real easy. Like, this thing comes with a set of 5 photographs, and your images, you don't even really know what a photograph is, but you have to try to find. Their quest can just be to find these 5 images and piece together some kind of mystery. It can be a magical device. I mean, it can do whatever you want, right? And it's a fun little plot device. It can be a metagaming device where you're like, your god puts a little image on the thing that says some cryptic message, right? Which is, your way of communicating with the party as the DM without totally metagaming it, right? So there's a lot you could do with that, right? Just unlimited potential there. You can use it as a key to open, once you get this one little Sheikah Slate, you can open all these other temples, and there's a series of things or places they can go that are opened by this thing. They can take pictures, they can track stuff with it, they can do, talk into it. Maybe it enables them to leave messages. It's like the sky's the limit with that, and it's a fun little sort of goobery plot device, like a MacGuffin that they can use for various ways to communicate. I mean, just like I said, there's unlimited potential there with one little device, right? So that's another thing you could rip off from Breath of the Wild that would be pretty fun. Fourth thing that I always liked and is the Breath of the Wild has arrows, right, of elemental arrows like fire, electric arrows or lightning arrows, and frost arrows, and then some bomb arrows and some ancient arrows. But the fire, ice, and lightning arrows are basically like a spell as an arrow, right? And there's a lot of fun things you can do with them in the game, but I always thought it'd be fun to have that play a bigger role in D&D. I think there are some sources where you have like a fire arrow or like a fireball arrow, but you could do that, like have the PCs find arrows that have built-in spells, right? Not even, it's no reason why you can't have like chain lightning put into an arrow, right, that they can fire. An arrow that turns into a fireball, an arrow that turns into a meteor swarm for all you care, right? That's super fun, super cool. You could even create an ability on an imbue arrow ability, right, for your sorcerers, wizards, where they could put their spell into an arrow to give another PC, and maybe you nerf it a little, like it's only half strength and it only lasts for 24 hours, so they can't just accumulate a whole bunch of them. But it adds some diversity there in abilities, and we'll say some flavor, right? And I've noticed that at least in my DM experience, not a lot of players play archers or really focus on archery as a main combat talent, and this could maybe adjust that, right? So there's a lot you could do. You could add like some of the features like from the game, like the frost arrows will freeze whatever you hit. Maybe it's only for a round or two, but buys you a round. The fire arrows will cause the target to burn for 2 or 3 rounds for X damage. The shocking arrows, right, in the game, if you get hit with an electric arrow, you drop your sword and shield, or you like get shocked, you can build that in pretty easily. Create temporary paralysis, whatever, right? Like I said, like everything, the sky's the limit here. You have an arrow that you fire it and it creates a little blizzard in a certain area, right? That would be super fun. So another feature that is easily ripped off from Breath of the Wild that adds some flavor to your campaign and your world. Another fifth feature, and we'll just do 5 this time, is the temples. I really liked Breath of the Wild how you go around finding little temples, and each one, like, you accumulate these little spirit orbs, and once you get 4, you can increase your stamina or your health, right? And there's, you know, some ridiculous number of temples around the world. Well, you could adapt that pretty easily to a campaign as a feature. Now, not directly, right? You're not going to accumulate heart containers or stamina vessels, but you can, say, have a series of 8 temples or 4 or whatever, where you go, and every time you go to one of these temples, maybe there's a little puzzle inside, but you get some sort of boon, and when you accumulate enough boons, you get a level or something, right? You gain a level, you gain a feat, you gain a, you know, whatever, some kind of prize, right? You could actually, you know, do the more traditional, you know, console RPG thing where you have to go to these 4 temples and unlock them all before you can enter the bad guy's main castle, right? And bring down the force field or whatever. There's some sort of bonus. You could have it to where there's a sort of limited number of temples, but the PCs can only level by going to each of these temples and praying or doing, you know, whatever, purging it of whatever evil or, you know, whatever your imagination is. But the fact of these temples scattered around that are all sort of related is an easy feature to put into a game. So edit. You can go around to temples, find different items, piece together a MacGuffin. There's all sorts of stuff that you can do. There's, like I said, the sky's the limit for most of these things. It's just a fun feature, right? I was sort of toying with making a couple of sites where you had to go to sort of imbue a magic item, and once you got it all like put together, you got like some sort of super item, right, that you could go assault the baddie with. Stuff like that. Like, the video games do this constantly, and it's a very easy, fun feature to put into a role-playing campaign, right? You can, like I said, unlock new powers when you go, which would be very Breath of the Wildy. But like I said, you know, the sky's the limit, right? Definitely a lot of potential there, a lot of fun things you can do, right? This is all from ripping off video games. Like I said, I'll make this a series. There's so many things you can steal from Zelda generally, but also just tons of video games, you know, World of Warcraft, all that stuff. Tons of stuff you can do. So hopefully this will be a fun little series, probably never ending. Hopefully I have more time to do these here in the near future. Otherwise, check out our store. I've also got a link, you know, say, I said you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Somebody's already gone through and made a RPG based on Zelda Breath of the Wild, which I will link to their thing in the description. You can go check it out for some fun things. Take it easy. I'll see you next time.